Mind control begins with awareness. It starts with the realization that everything you experience, everything you believe, and everything you become begins in the mind. Our thoughts are incredibly powerful, often more so than we realize. And the first step to mastering our minds is simply being aware of the thoughts that run through it. Most people go through life without ever pausing to reflect on their internal dialogue. We react to external events, not understanding that the true power lies in our ability to control how we react mentally, emotionally, and physically. Our thoughts are not merely a passive byproduct of life's circumstances, but an active force that shapes our experiences. The truth is, your mind is not neutral. It works in patterns, it works in cycles, and it works in habits. The question you need to ask yourself is, what patterns dominate your mind? Is it a constant stream of self-doubt, negativity, or criticism? Do you often find yourself focusing on what you don't have rather than what you do? Is your internal conversation filled with limiting beliefs and fear of failure? Awareness means stepping back from these thoughts and acknowledging them. Without awareness, it is nearly impossible to change them, let alone control them. The human mind is often a battlefield where negative thoughts can gain ground, becoming so ingrained that we don't even realize they are there. But here's the critical realization. You can challenge these thoughts, and with consistent practice, you can replace them. When you bring awareness to your thoughts, you gain the power to question them. Are they helpful or harmful? Are they based on reality, or are they simply ingrained patterns from the past? Things you've been told or believed for so long that they've become part of your identity. Most people don't question their thoughts. They just accept them as truth. But the truth is, your thoughts are not necessarily truth. They are simply reflections of what you've been conditioned to believe. If you want to master your mind, you must take the reins of this inner narrative. The mind doesn't work like a machine where you can input something and expect a predictable output. It is constantly active, continually processing information, interpreting events, and reacting to stimuli. So, if you do not control the narrative controls you. Without awareness, you can find yourself stuck in negative thought loops that spiral out of control. You begin to internalize limiting beliefs that hold you back. These beliefs often sound like, I'm not good enough. I'll never succeed, or I don't deserve this. But what if these thoughts are just mental noise and not the truth? Awareness is about noticing when these negative thoughts arise and taking the time to pause and reflect before you allow them to dictate your emotions and actions. It's about realizing that you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are just a momentary expression of your current state, and they do not have to define your future. Understanding this distinction is the key to mind control. Once you know that you have the ability to change your thoughts, you unlock the ability to change your entire life. You begin to realize that your mental patterns, no matter how deeply ingrained, are not permanent. You have the power to break them and create new, more empowering ones. One of the first steps in developing awareness is observing your thoughts without judgment. When you first begin this process, it can be overwhelming. Thoughts come and go in a constant stream, sometimes so fast that it feels like you're barely able to keep up. But the key is to recognize that not every thought needs your attention. Not every thought deserves to be followed. In fact, most of the thoughts that pass through your mind are irrelevant to your current goals and aspirations. Many of them are rooted in fear or insecurity, fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of rejection. By simply observing these thoughts without reacting to them, you start to build an awareness of what your mind is doing. Now, just because you become aware of negative thoughts doesn't mean you have to let them go unchecked. Awareness is the first step toward action. After recognizing a negative thought, you must actively choose to shift your focus to something more positive, more constructive. You can replace thoughts like, I can't do this, with I'm capable and I'm willing to learn. The process of replacing negative thoughts is not about denying their existence, but about redirecting your energy and attention to something more empowering. It's about training your mind to work for you rather than against you. This level of mental control requires intentional effort. And it takes time. It's not an instant transformation, but a gradual shift in perspective. Every time you notice a negative thought, you have the opportunity to replace it. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. Eventually, you'll find that the negative thoughts that once held you back lose their power. You begin to reprogram your mind for success. And the incredible part is that as your thoughts change, so do your behaviors. The way you approach life shifts. You become more confident, more proactive, and more aligned with your goals. Another critical aspect of mind control through awareness is understanding how your environment influences your thoughts. Your external world is constantly feeding your mind, either positively or negatively. The people you surround yourself with, the content you consume, and the places you go all shape the way you think. If your environment is filled with negativity, fear, and doubt, your mind will naturally absorb and reflect that energy. But if you surround yourself with positivity, growth, and inspiration, you're more likely to cultivate those same qualities within yourself. Awareness extends beyond just your thoughts. It also involves understanding the impact your environment has on your mindset. By consciously choosing to immerse yourself in empowering influences, you create an environment that fosters your growth and success. Becoming aware of your thoughts is one of the most transformative steps you can take on the road to success. It allows you to take back control over your life. Once you realize that you have the ability to direct your thoughts, you begin to understand that your reality is a reflection of what's going on inside your mind. The more you practice this awareness, the stronger you become in shaping your mental and emotional states. In conclusion, mastering your mind begins with awareness. Awareness is not passive. It's an active process that requires you to observe, reflect, and make intentional choices about your thoughts. It's about understanding that your mind is not a passive entity, but a tool that you can use to shape your destiny. Awareness allows you to break free from negative patterns and take control of your mental state, empowering you to take bold action toward your goals. Once you realize the power of awareness, you unlock the ability to transform your entire life. You become the architect of your own mind and therefore the architect of your own success. Shifting from a victim mindset to a victor mindset is one of the most powerful changes you can make in your life. This transformation is not about denying the difficulties you've faced or the struggles you've encountered. It's about choosing to see those challenges as opportunities for growth rather than insurmountable obstacles. It's about refusing to accept the role of being a victim to circumstances and instead taking full responsibility for how you respond, what you focus on, and what you ultimately create in your life. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but it is the foundation of all long-term success. The victim mindset is characterized by a sense of helplessness where you feel like life is happening to you rather than through you. It's easy to fall into this way of thinking, especially when life gets tough. When you feel like you're constantly being dealt unfair cards, it's tempting to blame external factors, people, the economy, the government, your upbringing, or even fate for your struggles. You might find yourself constantly wondering, why does this always happen to me? Or why can't things just go my way? This mindset makes you feel stuck, trapped by circumstances that are beyond your control. You begin to identify with the hardship, and it becomes part of your identity. As a result, you start to see yourself as powerless, as someone who is at the mercy of life's whims. But the truth is, this mindset is a lie. You have the power to change how you perceive the world and how you react to life's challenges. Life may not always be fair, and things may not always go your way, but you are never without choices. A victim sees themselves as a passive participant in life, a victim of their circumstance. A victor, on the other hand, recognizes that they always have the ability to choose their response. They understand that while they may not control external events, they absolutely control how they perceive those events and what actions they take in response to them. To make this shift, you first have to acknowledge that the power lies within you. You must accept that while you cannot change the past or undo the mistakes, failures, or injustices that may have occurred, you can control your future. This realization is liberating. It means that no matter what has happened in your life, the next chapter is yours to write. The victim mindset keeps you trapped in the past, constantly rehashing old wounds and looking for blame. The victor mindset, however, is focused on the future and on how you can learn from past experiences, use them to fuel your growth, and move forward with purpose. One of the most significant steps in shifting from victim to victor is taking responsibility for your life. Responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything that has happened to you. It simply means recognizing that you are the one who is ultimately responsible for your outcomes. This can be an uncomfortable truth to face, especially if you've spent a lot of time blaming external factors. But when you own your power and take full responsibility, you stop feeling like a passive observer in your own life. You become the creator of your own destiny. Taking responsibility means understanding that your reactions to life's challenges shape your future. It's not about being perfect or never experiencing failure. It's about how you respond when things don't go as planned. A victim might sulk, complain, or give up when faced with adversity, but a victor uses challenges as stepping stones, learning from them and moving forward stronger and more determined. They see failure not as an end, but as a lesson. A victor understands that failure is not a reflection of their worth, but a necessary part of growth. Every successful person has faced setbacks, but it is their response to those setbacks that defines them. To shift your mindset, you must also change how you view your circumstances. It's easy to get caught in the trap of believing that the circumstances of your life are what determine your success. But the reality is that successful people are not those who have had the easiest lives. They are the ones who have learned to thrive in the face of adversity. They don't let external factors dictate their path. Instead, they focus on what they control, what they believe, what they do, and how they think. When you start seeing challenges as opportunities rather than obstacles, you begin to develop a victor's mindset. The difficult situations in your life are not the end of the road. They are the beginning of a new chapter, a chance for you to step into your power and redefine what is possible for you. Every setback is a lesson that will move you closer to your goals. As long as you choose to learn from it, a victor doesn't waste energy complaining or feeling sorry for themselves. Instead, they focus on what they can do to improve, what steps they can take to turn things around. Another key aspect of shifting to a victor mindset is understanding the importance of self-belief. A victim often doubts their ability to change their circumstance. They believe that their situation is beyond their control or that they are not worthy of success. But a victor has unwavering belief in their own potential. They may not always know the exact path forward, but they trust that they are capable of finding it. This belief is a choice. It's not based on evidence, but on the decision to trust yourself and your ability to overcome challenges. When you believe that you can succeed, you are more likely to take the necessary steps to make it happen. One of the most powerful ways to reinforce a victor mindset is to focus on gratitude. A victim often focuses on what's wrong in their life, what they lack, and what they can't control. But a victor shifts their focus to what they do have, what they can be grateful for. Gratitude shifts your energy from a place of lack to a place of abundance. It's a reminder that no matter how difficult your circumstances may seem, you always have something to be thankful for. Gratitude breeds positivity and attracts more of what you appreciate into your life. When you are grateful, you begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. You shift your focus from problems to solutions. Shifting from victim to victor is not about ignoring the challenges or pretending that everything is perfect. It's about taking ownership of your response to those challenges. It's about realizing that your power lies not in avoiding hardship, but in how you choose to rise above it. It's about acknowledging that while you cannot control everything that happens to you, you have absolute control over how you react, how you learn, and how you grow from those experiences. In the end, shifting from a victim to a victor mindset is a choice. It's a decision to take control of your life, to see your struggles as stepping stones, and to recognize that you have the ability to overcome any challenge. It's about taking full responsibility for your actions. thoughts and beliefs and using them to propel yourself towards success. The victim mindset keeps you stuck in the past, while the victor mindset empowers you to create the future you want. The shift is not always easy, but it is always worth it. When you choose to be a victor, you unlock your true potential and open the door to endless possibilities. Mastering your emotions through focus is one of the most essential skills you can develop for success. The truth is, our emotions often drive our actions, and how we feel determines how we behave. When we allow emotions to run unchecked, they can control us, pushing us into patterns of behavior that sabotage our growth. However, when we learn to focus our attention in powerful and constructive ways, we can not only manage our emotions, but use them to fuel our success. This is the difference between being reactive to your emotions and proactively harnessing them for personal growth and achievement. Or emotions are incredibly powerful, and they can arise in an instant. Whether it's joy, excitement, anger, fear, or sadness, emotions have the power to shift the course of our day, sometimes even our lives. However, the most important realization is that while you can't always control the emotions that come up, you can absolutely control how you respond to them. The first step in mastering your emotions is understanding that emotions are signals. They are not enemies or things to be feared, but natural and necessary parts of being human. Emotions are simply energy in motion. They arise in response to thoughts, external events, or memories, and they carry messages that can guide our actions. It is not the emotion itself that determines your success or failure, but how you channel it. The ability to focus on the present moment is the gateway to emotional mastery. When you are fully present and aware of your emotional state, you can assess whether the emotion is serving you or hindering you. Most people spend much of their time lost in past regrets or future anxieties, constantly thinking about what they did wrong yesterday or worrying about what could go wrong tomorrow. This scattered focus leads to emotional turbulence. By bringing your focus back to the present moment, you create the space to understand the emotion that you are feeling and choose how to respond to it. For example, if you find yourself feeling fear before an important meeting or speaking opportunity, it's easy to let that fear overwhelm you. But instead of being consumed by the fear, you can focus on the present moment. Ask yourself, what can I do right now to address this fear? What small action can I take to make this moment better? This shift in focus from worrying about the future to taking small, purposeful actions in the present shifts the emotional energy from a state of fear to one of empowerment. You acknowledge the fear, but instead of letting it paralyze you, you direct your energy toward constructive action. The process of mastering your emotions also requires developing awareness of your emotional triggers. Certain situations, people, or environments may cause you to feel angry, frustrated, or overwhelmed. Often these emotional reactions are rooted in past experiences or unconscious beliefs. Once you identify your triggers, you gain the ability to change your response. For instance, if you're often frustrated by delays or things not going according to plan, recognizing this pattern is the first step in changing how you handle such situations. Rather than reacting with frustration, you can focus on what you can control, adjust your expectations, and remind yourself that delays are a natural part of life. This shift in focus allows you to keep your emotional state in check and to maintain a calm and productive mindset. Another key aspect of mastering emotions through focus is using physical movement to shift your emotional state. Our bodies and minds are deeply interconnected, and how we use our body can have a profound impact on our emotions. When we feel stressed, anxious, or down, our posture often reflects that inner state. We may hunch our shoulders, cross our arms, or hold tension in our neck and jaw. By consciously changing our physical posture, we can alter our emotional experience. Try standing tall, shoulders back, and chest open. Notice how your body language begins to shift your emotional state. This is an example of how focus and physiology work together to influence our emotions. A simple but powerful technique for managing your emotions is focusing on your breathing. When we experience intense emotions, our breath becomes shallow and rapid, which only serves to heighten the emotion. By focusing on deep, controlled breathing, we can slow down our physiological response and activate the body's relaxation response. Deep breathing allows us to regain control over our emotional state and refocus on the present moment. It gives us the space to make better decisions and respond with greater clarity and calmness. Another way to master your emotions through focus is by intentionally cultivating positive emotions. While it's impossible to avoid negative emotions entirely, you have the power to focus on and amplify the positive emotions that fuel your success. One way to do this is through gratitude. Gratitude is one of the most powerful emotional states you can experience, and it has a profound effect on your mental and emotional well-being. By focusing on what you're grateful for, you shift your attention away from lack and frustration, and you create a positive emotional state that propels you forward. In addition to gratitude, you can focus on other positive emotions like love, joy, and excitement. These emotions can fuel creativity, motivation, and perseverance. The key is to consciously cultivate these emotions by focusing on experiences, people, or thoughts that bring them to the surface. By making a habit of focusing on what's going well in your life, you begin to retrain your brain to seek out and amplify positive emotions, which in turn enhances your ability to face challenges with resilience and optimism. The most powerful aspect of mastering your emotions through focus is realizing that your emotional state is entirely within your control. This doesn't mean you will never feel negative emotions, but it means that you have the ability to choose how long those emotions last and how much power they have over you. Emotions are a natural part of being human, but they don't have to control you. When you practice focus, whether it's through mindfulness, breathing techniques, or positive emotional cultivation, you develop the mental strength to choose your response to any situation. You become emotionally resilient, able to weather the storms of life without being knocked off course. When you master your emotions through focus, you unlock the potential to perform at your highest level, regardless of the challenges you face. Your emotional state no longer holds you back. It becomes a tool you can use to your advantage. You gain the ability to move from frustration to focus, from fear to confidence, and from anger to calm. You become the master of your inner world, and as a result, your outer world begins to reflect that inner mastery. In conclusion, mastering your emotions through focus is not about suppressing or ignoring your feelings. It's about recognizing that emotions are tools to be used, not forces that control you. By developing the ability to focus your mind on the present moment, to shift your focus from negative triggers to positive action, and to change your physical state, you can regain control over your emotional landscape. Emotional mastery doesn't come from avoiding difficult emotions, but from learning how to navigate them with grace, purpose, and clarity. It is through this mastery that you can achieve greater success and fulfillment in all areas of your life. Creating positive routines and habits is one of the most profound ways to set yourself up for success. When you build habits that align with your goals, values, and vision for your life, you essentially program your mind and body to perform at their highest potential. Habits are the small actions, decisions, and behaviors that you repeat over and over again. While many people tend to focus on grandiose goals or one-time breakthroughs, true transformation comes from the consistent, often unnoticed actions that accumulate over time. These daily rituals and routines shape your identity, define your behavior, and ultimately determine your success. The first step in creating positive routines is understanding the power of consistency. Consistency is the key to forming lasting habits that become part of your lifestyle. When you consistently engage in actions that move you toward your goals, you begin to rewire your brain and body. The more you practice positive behaviors, the more they become automatic, requiring less conscious effort. It's important to recognize that it's not the occasional large leap forward that creates lasting success, but the consistent small steps taken day in and day out. It's in those moments of repetition that you build momentum and self-discipline, and over time, that momentum begins to compound. Take, for example, the habit of waking up early each day. In the beginning, it may feel challenging and you might find yourself tempted to hit the snooze button, but by committing to waking up early each morning, you begin to reprogram your internal clock. At first, it may require effort and intentionality, but as the days pass, your body adapts. Eventually, waking up early becomes a natural part of your day, setting the tone for the rest of your activities. The early morning hours can become a powerful time of productivity, reflection, and goal setting. By simply starting your day with purpose, you create a foundation that enables you to tackle the challenges of the day with energy and focus. One of the reasons habits and routines are so powerful is that they help you overcome decision fatigue. Each day, we are faced with a multitude of decisions, from what to wear, to what to eat, to how we spend our time. When you have a set routine, many of these decisions are already made for you, freeing up mental energy to focus on the things that matter most. For example, if you've established a morning routine that includes exercise, meditation, and journaling, you don't need to waste time deciding whether or not to do these things each day. They've become non-negotiable parts of your routine. This reduces stress and allows you to move through your day with greater clarity and focus. When you create positive routines, you eliminate the mental clutter that can slow you down, giving you more space to think creatively and strategically. Building positive routines also involves the practice of intentionally prioritizing the most important tasks that will move you toward your long-term goals. Too often, we let distractions, reactive behaviors, and immediate gratification pull us off course. But by creating routines that center on your priorities, you ensure that the things that matter most are consistently addressed. These routines serve as the guardrails that keep you focused and on track. When you make time for the habits that align with your goals, whether it's working on a passion project, developing a new skill, or cultivating relationships, you create a structure that supports your success. These routines not only help you avoid distractions, but also train you to value what is truly important in your life. A powerful aspect of positive routines is the connection they create between your mind and body. Many successful people understand that their mental and physical well-being are interconnected, and one cannot thrive without the other. Building routines that include physical activity, healthy eating, and adequate rest ensures that you have the energy and vitality needed to pursue your goals. When you take care of your body, you increase your mental clarity, your emotional resilience, and your overall capacity to perform at a high level. Exercise, for example, is not just about physical health, it's about mental strength. Regular exercise boosts mood, reduces stress, and enhances cognitive function, allowing you to approach each day with a renewed sense of focus and determination. Creating positive habits also involves practicing mindfulness and being present in each moment. Many people rush through their routines, simply going through the motions without truly engaging in what they are doing. Whether you're drinking a cup of coffee in the morning, taking a walk, or sitting down to work, it's important to be present and mindful in every action. When you engage fully in each activity, you increase your sense of satisfaction and accomplishment, making the routine more fulfilling. Mindfulness also allows you to assess your progress and make adjustments when necessary. If something is not serving you, helping you move toward your goals, being present in the moment gives you the awareness to change course. This mindfulness is what separates those who are simply going through the motions from those who are actively shaping their lives with intention. A vital part of creating successful routines is having the right mindset. If you approach routine building with a sense of dread or obligation, you will likely struggle to maintain those routines over time. The key is to adopt a mindset that views routines as a tool for personal empowerment. When you see your daily routines as a means to improve your life and move closer to your dreams, you naturally develop the motivation to stick with them. For example, if your goal is to write a book, making writing a daily habit becomes something to look forward to, not something you have to do. Viewing routines in this way helps you cultivate a sense of excitement and purpose rather than feeling burdened by them. While positive routines can be powerful, they must also be flexible. Life is unpredictable, and there will be times when things don't go according to plan. Routines should support your growth, but they should also allow for adaptation when necessary. A successful routine is not about perfection, but about progress. It's about making small, incremental improvements that add up over time. When life throws you a curveball, it's important to remember that a positive routine can still be maintained, even if it needs to be adjusted. Flexibility allows you to stay resilient. maintaining consistency in the face of challenges. The ability to adapt and adjust your routines in response to changing circumstances is a key trait of successful individuals. Another important component of creating positive habits is setting realistic goals and breaking them down into manageable steps. It's easy to become overwhelmed by the big picture and lose sight of what needs to be done on a daily basis. But when you break larger goals into smaller, more achievable tasks, you can integrate them into your routine without feeling stressed. For example, if you have a goal to run a marathon, starting with short, manageable runs and gradually building up your distance over time is far more effective than attempting to run the entire marathon on the first day. Similarly, if your goal is to write a book, dedicating just 30 minutes a day to writing can lead to significant progress over time. Small daily actions compound, and the habit of making progress each day moves you closer to your bigger goals. In conclusion, creating positive routines and habits is about setting yourself up for success through consistent, intentional actions. By developing routines that prioritize your goals, physical health, and mental well-being, you create a framework that supports growth and achievement. Success doesn't come from big dramatic changes. It comes from the small, consistent actions that you take every day. These routines shape your identity, guide your behavior, and provide the structure you need to navigate life with purpose and focus. By understanding the power of routine, you can transform your daily life into a series of intentional steps toward the success you desire. Overcoming fear and doubt with action is one of the most empowering and transformative concepts you can adopt in your life. Fear and doubt are natural emotions that everyone experiences to some degree. They are part of being human. However, the difference between those who achieve their goals and those who don't often comes down to how they handle these emotions. Fear and doubt, while completely normal, can also become paralyzing forces that prevent you from taking the necessary steps toward your dreams and aspirations. The key to overcoming them is not in trying to eliminate them, but in choosing to act despite them. Fear is often rooted in the unknown. We fear what we don't understand or what we believe we cannot control. Whether it's the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, or the fear of the future, fear often holds us back from taking bold actions. Doubt, on the other hand, is often an internal voice telling us that we're not good enough, that we lack the necessary skills, or that we will never succeed. It's that little voice in your head that questions your ability to follow through or accomplish something great. These fears and doubts can be incredibly convincing, and they have the power to stop us from even trying. However, the more you allow fear and doubt to dictate your actions, the more they grow and control your life. One of the most powerful ways to overcome fear and doubt is by taking action, no matter how small or imperfect that action may seem. Action, even in the face of fear, is the antidote to stagnation. The moment you take a step forward, no matter how small, you begin to break free from the grip of fear and doubt. It's like shining a light into a dark room. Suddenly, the things that seem so frightening or overwhelming become clear and less intimidating. The more you act, the more your confidence grows, and the more fear and doubt lose their power over you. Perception helps you gain clarity. Often fear and doubt arise because we are uncertain of what lies ahead. We get caught up in worst-case scenarios, thinking about all the ways things could go wrong. But when you take action, you create feedback. You start to gather real-world information, and that information helps you adjust and course correct. Each action you take is a piece of the puzzle that brings you closer to your goal, even if that action doesn't yield immediate results. It teaches you something valuable. It might show you a new path, help you identify a roadblock you hadn't considered, or simply teach you that the fear you felt wasn't as big as you thought. The clarity you gain from action makes the next step easier and less daunting. Another reason why action is so effective at overcoming fear and doubt is that it shifts your focus. When you allow yourself to dwell on your fears and doubts, they take center stage in your mind. You spend more time thinking about what could go wrong rather than what could go right. By taking action, you shift your focus away from these negative thoughts and focus on what you can do in the present moment. You stop overthinking and start doing. This shift is incredibly powerful because it not only moves you forward, but also helps quiet the noise of doubt. The more you act, the less room there is for fear to occupy your mind. Overcoming fear and doubt with action also helps you build momentum. One of the most frustrating things about fear is how it can paralyze you, keeping you stuck in place. But momentum is a powerful force that can help you break free from it. This paralysis, when you take the first step, even if it's a small one, you create momentum, and momentum leads to more action. The more you act, the more you build a snowball effect that propels you forward, creating a sense of accomplishment and progress that fuels your desire to continue. Action leads to positive results. And those results build confidence, which further reduces fear and doubt. It's a cycle of growth that reinforces itself. It's also important to recognize that taking action doesn't mean you have to do everything perfectly. Perfectionism is often rooted in fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of looking foolish, or fear of failure. The fear of making mistakes can be so strong that it prevents you from even trying. But the truth is, mistakes are an essential part of the learning process. When you take action, you open yourself up to the possibility of failure, but you also open yourself up to the possibility of growth. The key is not to view failure as something to avoid, but as a stepping stone on the way to success. Each mistake, each misstep is an opportunity to learn and improve. The more you take action and embrace the process, the less fear and doubt will affect your ability to move forward. Taking action also helps you reframe the narrative you tell yourself. Often, fear and doubt come from the stories we tell ourselves about what might happen. We imagine the worst possible outcome, and that fear becomes so consuming that it stops us from acting. By taking action, even small actions, you rewrite that narrative. Instead of telling yourself that you can't do something, you start proving to yourself that you can. The more evidence you collect through action, the more you start to shift your mindset. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is held back by fear and doubt and start seeing yourself as someone who takes charge of their destiny no matter the obstacles. One of the most effective ways to use action to overcome fear and doubt is by breaking down your big goals into smaller, manageable steps. Often, fear arises when we look at the enormity of a task and feel overwhelmed. The goal seems too big and the obstacles seem too high to overcome. But by breaking that goal down into smaller, actionable steps, you can reduce the fear and overwhelm. Each small step you take brings you closer to the larger goal, and each step becomes a victory in itself. When you focus on one step at a time, you shift your attention from the fear of the unknown to the excitement of progress. This process makes it easier to take action because the task no longer seems so intimidating. Another important aspect of overcoming fear and doubt with action is understanding that you are not alone. Everyone, regardless of their success or experience, faces fear and doubt. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is how they choose to handle those feelings. Successful individuals have learned how to acknowledge fear, take action in spite of it, and keep moving forward. They understand that fear and doubt are natural parts of the journey, but they do not let those emotions dictate their decisions. When you take action in the face of fear, you join the ranks of those who have gone before you, and you start to realize that fear is not something that can stop you unless you allow it to. In conclusion, overcoming fear and doubt with action is one of the most powerful ways to move past self-imposed limitations and create the life you desire. Fear and doubt are inevitable, but they do not have to control your actions. The key is to recognize that action, any action, reduces the power that fear and doubt have over you. By taking the first step, breaking down big tasks into manageable parts and embracing imperfection, you can build momentum, gain clarity, and shift your focus away from fear and toward progress. Action is the antidote to the paralysis that fear and doubt can cause, and it is the gateway to personal growth, success, and fulfillment. So whenever fear and doubt arise, remember that the most powerful thing you can do is take action. The more you act, the more you'll learn, grow, and prove to yourself that nothing is beyond your reach. Reframing negative thoughts is one of the most powerful tools you can use to transform your life. The way you think dictates the way you feel, and the way you feel determines the actions you take. Your mind is constantly processing information, interpreting events, and assigning meaning to your experiences. When you allow negative thoughts to take over, they create a lens through which you see the world, a lens that distorts reality and keeps you trapped in a cycle of self-doubt, fear, and limitation. But the good news is that you have the power to change that lens. You have the ability to take control of your thoughts and shift them in a way that empowers you rather than holds you back. Negative thoughts often arise automatically, shaped by past experiences, societal conditioning, and internal fears. They creep in when you least expect them, whispering doubts and reinforcing insecurities. You might catch yourself thinking, I'm not good enough, I'll never succeed, things never go my way, or what's the point in trying? These thoughts may feel like absolute truths, but in reality, they are just patterns your mind has developed over time. The problem is that when you accept them as truth, they dictate your actions, your confidence, and ultimately your results. If you tell yourself that you're not capable, you won't take action. If you believe success is out of reach, you won't pursue opportunities. If you assume that failure is inevitable, you won't even try. These thoughts become self-fulfilling prophecies, shaping your reality in ways you don't even realize. The first step in reframing negative thoughts is awareness. You cannot change what you do not acknowledge. Many people go through life unaware of the mental chatter that influences their decisions. They don't stop to question whether the thoughts running through their minds are serving them or sabotaging them. But once you become aware of your negative thought patterns, you gain the power to challenge them. Start by paying attention to your internal dialogue. Notice the thoughts that arise when you're faced with a challenge, when you're stepping out of your comfort zone, or when something doesn't go as planned. Are you immediately jumping to worst case scenarios? Are you assuming failure before you've even started? Are you talking to yourself in a way that you would never speak to a friend or loved one? The way you speak to yourself matters more than you realize. Once you recognize negative thoughts, the next step is to challenge them. Just because a thought enters your mind doesn't mean it's true. Ask yourself, is this thought based on facts or is it based on fear? Where did this belief come from? Has this thought helped me move forward in life, or has it held me back? By questioning your thoughts, you create distance between yourself and the negativity, making it easier to reframe them into something more empowering. Instead of saying, I'm not good enough, you can shift your perspective and say, I am growing and improving every day. Instead of thinking, I'll never succeed, you can reframe it to every challenge I face is an opportunity to learn and get better. This shift may seem small, but over time it rewires your brain to focus on possibilities rather than limitations. Another powerful way to reframe negative thoughts is to replace them with questions that open up new perspectives. Instead of thinking, why does this always happen to me? Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Instead of saying I'm stuck, ask, what steps can I take right now to move forward? When you replace disempowering thoughts with empowering questions, you direct your focus towards solutions rather than problems. Your mind is incredibly powerful, and when you train it to look for answers, it will find them. But if you feed it negativity and self-doubt, it will look for evidence to support those limiting beliefs. The choice is yours. Gratitude is another game changer when it comes to reframing negative thoughts. When you focus on what's going wrong, you create a mindset of lack and limitation. But when you shift your focus to what you have, what's going well and what you're grateful for, you start to rewire your brain for positivity. Gratitude shifts your perspective from what's missing to what's present, from problems to possibilities, from scarcity to abundance. Even in the toughest situations, there is always something to be grateful for. Maybe it's a lesson learned, a small victory, or the simple fact that you have the opportunity to grow. When you make gratitude a daily practice, you train your mind to see the good, and that changes everything. Your environment also plays a significant role in the way you think. If you constantly surround yourself with negativity, whether it's toxic people, negative media, or a lack of inspiring influences, your mind will reflect that environment. But if you intentionally expose yourself to positive influences, your thoughts will begin to shift. Read books that uplift and empower you. Listen to podcasts that inspire growth. Surround yourself with people who encourage you rather than tear you down. The more you fill your mind with positivity, the harder it becomes for negative thoughts to take root. Your mind is like a garden. What you plant in it will grow. If you plant seeds of doubt, fear, and limitation, that's what you will harvest. But if you plant seeds of confidence, possibility, and resilience, you will cultivate a mindset that fuels success. Taking action is one of the most effective ways to shift your mental state. Negative thoughts often thrive in inaction. When you sit still, overanalyze, and dwell on problems, your mind has more time to spiral into negativity. But when you take action, no matter how small, you break that cycle. Action disrupts fear. It creates momentum. It gives you evidence that you are capable. If your mind tells you that you can't do something, prove it wrong by taking a step forward. If doubt tries to creep in, take action anyway. The more you take control of your actions, the more your mind will follow. One of the most powerful realizations you can have is that you are not your thoughts. Thoughts are just mental patterns, habits that have been formed over time. But you have the ability to change them. You have the power to choose which thoughts you give energy to and which ones you let go. When a negative thought arises, you don't have to accept it as truth. You can observe it, acknowledge it, and then consciously replace it with a thought that serves you. This is the key to mental freedom. It's not about eliminating all negative thoughts, they will always come and go, but about mastering the ability to shift them when they no longer serve you. Reframing negative thoughts is not just about thinking positively. It's about creating a mindset that empowers you to take control of your life. It's about choosing to see challenges as opportunities, setbacks as lessons, and obstacles as stepping stones. It's about shifting from a victim mindset to a victor mindset, where you recognize that your thoughts are the foundation of your reality. When you change your thoughts, you change your beliefs. When you change your beliefs, you change your actions. And when you change your actions, you change your life. The process of reframing negative thoughts takes practice, but the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. Over time, you'll notice a shift in the way you see yourself, the way you approach challenges, and the way you respond to life's uncertainties. You will no longer be held back by fear and doubt, but propelled forward by confidence and resilience. You will realize that your mind is your greatest asset, and by taking control of your thoughts, you take control of your destiny. Your mind is the most powerful tool you have, and by taking control of your thoughts, shifting your mindset, mastering your emotions, and taking action despite fear, you unlock limitless potential. Success begins the moment you decide to break free from limiting beliefs, reframe negativity into empowerment, and commit to habits that fuel growth.